and I'm oldest. So, I'm here to tell you a story. I think I might call my story 60. How about that? All right. Several years ago, at the beginning of our empty nest stage, my husband and I decided to buy what we morbidly call our last house in an area of great need and great diversity. We didn't really have much of a plan. We just thought, let's move in and let's obey Jesus' command to love our neighbors. So we settled on Clarkston, Georgia, and we didn't know a whole lot about it. It's right on 285. We knew that it had been a UN refugee resettlement area since the 80s, and we knew that 60% of the population were refugees, but that's really about all we knew. We did not know that at the time there were 19.5 million refugees worldwide. That number is more today. That's a few years ago statistic. That's double the population of Georgia, and it's the highest number of displaced people in the world in recorded history. We didn't know that the average stay in a refugee camp is 7 years, or that the time it takes to get from one of those camps to the U.S. is 3 years or longer. We didn't even know what a refugee is. And so in case you don't, I'm going to read it to you here. Refugees are defined as persons who are outside their country and cannot return owing to a well-founded fear of persecution because of their race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership of a particular social group. We moved in to Clarkston, and the first person we met was Amina. Amina is the granddaughter of a Somali king, so she's a princess. As a young woman, Amina committed a crime that's punishable by death in Somalia. She became a Christian, and so she fled, and she went to Ethiopia. About 4, 5, 6 months later, her husband and her 4 small children that she had left followed her there. And they made a really good life in Ethiopia. They bought land, they had multiple businesses, they had lots of friends, they had a home, they had 6 more children, so they had 10 children total. And then years later, Amina's father-in-law died, and they had to go back to Somalia. So the day after the funeral, local rebels heard they were in town, showed up with guns and knives and machetes, and killed everyone. Red Cross workers came to bury bodies, and they discovered Amina had a pulse. The interesting thing about Amina's story is that it is typical of the people in our neighborhood. So Amina began a refugee journey. The UN moved her to Burundi, and then to Kenya, and then ultimately to the front doorstep of an apartment in Clarkston with a cheap cell phone and enough money to last about 6 months, which she had to pay back. Through Amina, we discovered that our refugee neighbors are typically, on the whole, they're hardworking, heroic, grateful people who just want to give back to their community. After living in Clarkston not very long, I noticed something. There's no Starbucks in Clarkston. And that may not seem like a really big deal to you, but there's no place for people to gather. And if you consider that 85% of immigrants to our country have never been inside an American home, or that the coffee shop's kind of an extension of the American living room, that's a big hospitality gap. So when I started to think, somebody needs to build a coffee shop in Clarkston. And I told all our young hipster friends that they needed to build a coffee shop in Clarkston, and nobody bit on my idea. And then one day I took Amina here to Dancing Goats Coffee. It's 4 miles down the road. It's one of 5 coffee shops in Decatur. And we sat there drinking our cappuccinos. And you need to understand this about Amina. She is not a typical victim. She doesn't speak victim. She doesn't think like a victim. So the thing she said to me that day was pure observation. She looked around and she said, "Kitti, there will never be anything like this in Clarkston." And what I heard beneath those words was this: no one here believes we are worth this kind of lavish welcome. And so I had probably the craziest thought I've ever had in my life. I thought, I need to build a coffee shop in Clarkston. Now, you need to know this about me. I have no business acumen, like no experience, no training. We're talking zero, not even instinct. But I'm not kidding. Our team will be here tomorrow and they will back me up. But I do know I've been a pastor's wife and a soccer mom forever, and I do know how to gather people. So I started to gather smart people around this idea. Really smart, young, resourceful, passionate people. And so a year and 2 weeks ago, we launched phase 1 of Refuge Coffee. To explain our primary mission, I'm just going to read what we stamp on our coffee sleeves. As you enjoy this drink, you are providing a living wage, quality job training, and mentorship for a resettled refugee who lives right here in Atlanta's own backyard. So we have one coffee truck right now, and here's what we do with it. 2 days a week, we have a multi-ethnic, agendaless gathering place for people to meet over coffee in Clarkston. And in our 2 days a week, in 1 year, we've served people from over 52 countries. The rest of the time, and we discount our coffee when we're in Clarkston, the rest of the time we cater and we take our truck or just our coffee sometimes, and sometimes our barista pod out on the road, and we go to TV sets, film sets, corporate events, schools, and that sort of thing. We like to say, and I think it's true, that we don't work for refugees. We work with refugees to tell Atlanta a more beautiful refugee story. And today that's pretty important, I think. Here, I want you to introduce you to some of our guys. They're actually going to be on a movie set tomorrow, so only one will be here with us. This is Leon. Leon's from the Democratic Republic of Congo. He was a teacher there. He's a customer service natural, and so when he finished our 1-year training program, we hired him because we didn't want to lose him. Here's Eleni. Eleni is from Ethiopia. She was an electrical engineer in her own country. She is like calm under pressure. She's kind. She finished our program 1 month early, but only because she's about to have her second baby. She will be a friend for life. Here's Achmed. Achmed is from Syria. You'll meet him tomorrow. Achmed has been in the States 7 months. He started working for us 6 months ago. He did not speak any English until he came, and he's incredible how well he speaks now. He was a pharmacist in Syria. And then finally, here's our youngest and newest trainee. This is Mohammed. He's from the Central African Republic. And the funny thing about Mohammed is he will tell people where he's from, and they always say, I'm kind of embarrassed for all us Americans, but they'll go, oh, what country in Africa are you from? And he has to explain that that is a country. But he's the greatest. I am in love with our mission, but executing it is the scariest thing I've ever done. About 2 years ago, when the refuge idea was kind of unfolding into reality, I asked a mentor, do you ever just feel like you're jumping off a cliff? And he didn't even hesitate. He goes, every single day. And I remember thinking, oh no, because I thought that feeling would go away, and it hasn't. And we just, like 3 weeks ago, purchased a second truck, which we're going to outfit. We're about to scale. We're about to be open 3 times as many days. We're about to hire more than double the number of people. And it's scary every single day, but it's worth it. I happen to believe that welcome is a powerful force for good. And the cool thing about welcome is everybody needs it, and everybody's able in some unique way to give it. I'm excited because what you are going to help us do is figure out how to welcome better, and I can't wait. Thanks. That's it.